We have compared the education of children who are deaf in Canada between regular schools and provincial deaf schools. Children at regular school have difficulty in communicating with non-deaf teachers, while children at a provincial deaf school actively participate in classroom activities by signing their thoughts, questions, and answers. Regular school provide children with weak supporting services for deaf children and not providing tutoring in ASL LSQ. At provincial deaf school, children have better chance of learning within a healthy community. Regular school provide children with educational assistants who has some signing skill rather than an interpreter. At provincial deaf school, children share a language and a culture among deaf peers. At regular school, there is isolation of the children and little or no contact with other deaf people. At provincial deaf school, the child does not stick out from the crowd as being different. There is no exposure to deaf culture at regular school, while there is exposure to many other deaf people and role models, as well as to the deaf culture. Communication and interaction without barrier is very important for the deaf students' academic achievement, self-esteem, and social development. Deaf children should be provided with skills and instruction in both ASL, LSQ, and English, French, with a learning environment that recognizes and respects both deaf culture and dominant hearing culture.
Hong Kong Sign Language, or HKSL, is the deaf sign language of Hong Kong. It derived from the southern dialect of Chinese Sign Language, but is not an independent and not mutually intelligible separate language. The origin of HKSL can be traced back around 1949, when a group of around 20 deaf people moved from Shanghai and Beijing to Hong Kong and began tutoring at a local deaf community to facilitate greater social cohesion and standardization of their sign languages. Chinese Sign Language was the initial medium of instruction, leading to the circulation of CSL among the local deaf community, who adopted the language by developing their own signs with new ideas, concepts, or things they encounter in their lives. This led to a further development of the vocabulary and intricacy of Hong Kong Sign Language as separate from CSL. For a number of years, HKSL continued to develop with little external influence, as international travel from Hong Kong and thus interaction between other deaf communities was not always feasible. With more and more Hong Kong deaf people traveling abroad in recent decades for a variety of reasons, borrowing into HKSL has become more common. The American manual alphabet was borrowed and adopted with the same adaptations in this way, and were many other signs. Some deaf organizations in Hong Kong are Hong Kong Sign Language Association, Center for Linguistics and Deaf Studies, and Silence. As of today, Hong Kong only has 10 professional HKSL interpreters, while there's only one deaf school in Hong Kong. Only one! It is clearly not enough to support the deaf community in Hong Kong.
Anita Yu, a teacher that aims at perfection and inborn deaf. Hong Kong is improving. For instance, the instant translation on TV news is available, but it is not enough as compared to other countries. Japan is providing a high subsidy to the deaf, while Finland has included sign language as one of the official languages. But take a look in Hong Kong. What have the government done so far? The society, the government, and the hospital may consider them as social vulnerable. Even parents nowadays won't send their children to deaf schools but ordinary schools because of this. But they don't see it like this. There are so many people in need, but not many translators. Hong Kong government agreed to improve some of the public services, but when the Legislative Councillor requested to add sign language to the Hong Kong official language, the government rejected immediately.
History of Korean Deaf Education. 1909 started the modern blind deaf education by missionary Rosetta Shaw Hall in Pyongyang. 1913 established Jae-Sang-won Elementary School by Governor General of Korea in Seoul. 1945 changed the name of Jae-Sang-won to National Blind Deaf School by U.S. Army Military Governor in Korea. 1946 developed the Korean Sign Language by Yoon Baek-won. 1952 changed the name of National Blind Deaf School to Seoul Blind Deaf School. 1959 separated the Seoul Blind School and Seoul Deaf School. 1980s began to use the alone KSL with the oralage.
Deaf education in Japan. In 1878, the first deaf school was established in Kyoto, Japan. The school used writing, original finger spells, and sign. In the early 20th century, oralism was introduced into Japan, and it became major in Japanese deaf education. In the late 20th century, people believed that no hearing means no talking, so deaf people had to speak for communication. Deaf schools were used for training of communication. Students practiced lip reading and voice training. In 1933, Japanese government reinforced oralism education in deaf schools. Sign language was banned because people believed sign language distracts learning oralism. In 19th, deaf people appealed to use sign language in deaf school. Then, in 2009, finally the government changed the education guideline and sign language was recognized as one of the communication tools in deaf school.
Now, there are 106 deaf schools in Japan, and about 6,400 students are in there.
Hello. 你好. 안녕하세요. こんにちは. Thank you. 가이. 고맙습니다. ありがとうございます. I love you. 어이, 네. 사랑합니다. 愛してる. 바이바이.